You trying to figure out which quarterback to start here in Week 14? Here's my top 15 rankings. What is going on, everybody? Jake, Fantasy Headliners. Hopefully everybody's having a great week out there. The week is ending. It's close. We've got games right around the corner. We're talking quarterbacks today, doing our top 15 rankings, kind of like we've changed it up here for the past few weeks. I'm going to give you the top 15 overall quarterbacks. Have them scrolling there along the bottom. Also, trying to help you guys make any tough decisions that you may have this week. So before we waste any more time, let's get into some quarterbacks here for Week 14. All right, number one may be a little bit of a surprise, and he's a new number one. It's going to be Drew Brees this week. And I know he irritated a lot of you owners last week, burned a lot of people with only his 127 yards and 1 touchdown. That's an elite defense there for the Dallas Cowboys, so I'm not going to just hold that against Brees and say that he can't produce going forward. This offense has kind of been sputtering the past couple weeks, and they really need to get it ramped back up to make this serious playoff push. It starts this week against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who are currently the last-ranked team, giving up the most points to opposing quarterbacks on average, just under 30 points a game, right at 29 points per game to opposing quarterbacks. They've allowed multiple touchdown scores 3 out of their last 5 games. This is definitely a great matchup for Drew Brees to get this offense kick-started once again. Like I said, the past couple weeks have been a little disappointing. It turns around this week in Tampa Bay. He's going to be my number one quarterback this week. All right, number two has pretty much been all year's number one, and it's Patrick Mahomes, and there's an argument saying that he could be like 1B. Like, he should always probably be in the ones somewhere. However, it is a tough matchup. He's going up against the Baltimore Ravens, who give up the second fewest points to opposing quarterbacks right now, just over 17 points a game. And they haven't allowed multiple touchdown passes here the past 2 weeks, including last week against the Atlanta Falcons, where they held Matt Ryan to 131 yards passing and just 1 touchdown. It's a tough matchup. It's going to be a home matchup, which definitely bodes well for Kansas City. I still think he has a good game, but is that crazy high 4-touchdown, 40-point ceiling there? It may be limited slightly this week. Still love Patrick Mahomes. I wouldn't consider benching him at all at this point. Still a solid start despite the really difficult matchup. Number 3 is going to be old reliable, and it's going to be Phillip Rivers this week. He's making his way up the rankings. Another strong game last week for Phillip Rivers. 299 yards, 2 touchdowns against the Pittsburgh Steelers, most of which went to Keenan Allen, but that doesn't really matter. Now he gets a great matchup this week against the Cincinnati Bengals, who give up the second most points to opposing quarterbacks, just over 28 points a game. And Phillip Rivers is about as consistent as you can get, right? He's had multiple touchdown passes every single week so far this year. It's a critical time in your fantasy playoffs. You kind of need to lean on somebody with a great matchup. He's going to be playing at home, which is a positive. Phillip Rivers has been playing great football all season long. I really like him this week going up against that Cincinnati Bengals defense, if you want to call it a defense, whatever it is there. They've allowed 5 touchdown passes over their last 2 games. Definitely a good matchup like Phillip Rivers this week. He's going to be coming in at number 3. Number 4 is going to be Big Ben Cheeselessburger of the Pittsburgh Steelers, and for the past few weeks, he's kind of started to throw some interceptions, which is a little bit, for a cause for concern. He's got 6 interceptions over his last 3 games combined, but this is a great matchup, and he has a ton of weapons. No James Conner, more of a running back style committee in Pittsburgh with Jalen Samuels and Stephen Ridley. He may lean a little bit more in the passing game, maybe include the tight ends a little bit more this week. In a great matchup going up against the 24th ranked defense against opposing quarterbacks, giving up on average just under 25 points a game. The Oakland Raiders have given up 8 touchdown passes in their past 3 games. Great matchup for Big Ben, even though he's on the road in Oakland. With all those weapons he has, he's going to have another good week. I got him at number 4. Number 5 is going to be Aaron Rodgers of the Green Bay Packers, another one of these guys who's pretty much been struggling the past few weeks. Heck, he's been struggling off and on all season. But there's a coaching change now in Green Bay, and is Joe Philbin the answer to all things Packers? No, probably not. But it would not surprise me one bit if Aaron Rodgers just absolutely comes out this week and balls out of control now that Mike McCarthy isn't there. I have to think that there was something going on in the locker room where those two were button heads continually, and now he's going to come out and unleash fury on the NFL. They really don't have a whole lot to play for, right? They just lost to the Arizona Cardinals. I can see them come out and just throw the ball all over the field and really include Aaron Jones a lot this week. And the matchup is great. The Atlanta Falcons are the 30th ranked defense against opposing quarterbacks, giving up just over 28 points per game. They didn't allow anything last week, but they played the Baltimore Ravens, and Lamar Jackson really doesn't throw that much. The game before that, against Drew Brees and the Saints, gave up 171 yards, but 4 touchdown passes. This defense has been improved over the past couple weeks, not quite as porous as they were to start the season, but this is Aaron Rodgers, and I expect this offense to kind of get a little bit of a kickstart with the coaching changes that happened this past week. Number 6 is going to be Cam Newton of the Carolina Panthers, but this one we need to pay a little bit of attention to. He's on the injury report this week, limited at practice with shoulder soreness, something we need to really pay attention to. He's had problems with that in the past. However, as of right now, still active, still playing, in a great matchup. He does have multiple touchdown passes every single game this year with the exception of week 1. However, last week, not so great with the interceptions. Did throw for 300 yards and 2 touchdowns, but had 4 picks. Now, he gets the 19th ranked defense in the Cleveland Browns, giving up on average just over 22 points per game to opposing quarterbacks. They've allowed at least 1 passing touchdown every single week since week 8. Definitely a great matchup for Cam Newton. He has the upside of his legs. Just really need to pay attention to these practice reports. If he's limited or not playing this week, you need to make sure you have a plan B ready to go just in case. Number 7 is going to be Deshaun Watson of the Houston Texans. Been playing really great football as of late. Last week against the Cleveland Browns, 224 yards and only 1 touchdown. However, he's going to have that upside every single week with his legs. Had 7 rush attempts for another 30 yards. Didn't have the greatest fantasy day, but he's been playing great football as of late. As of right now, only has 2 interceptions in his past 6 games. Definitely protecting the football, giving the Texans a chance to win. The problem is Lamar Miller keeps eating up so much yardage, it's really taking away from the passing game. It's going to be somewhat of a difficult matchup this week. The 12th ranked defense of the Indianapolis Colts, giving up just over 20 points per game. Last week, Jacksonville Jaguars, they didn't allow a passing touchdown, but it's the Jacksonville Jaguars. That doesn't really surprise me. The game before that against the Miami Dolphins, Tannehill went out there, 204 yards, 2 touchdowns. It's a solid defense. Not one that you could be able to rack up points against, but it's enough to start Deshaun Watson. I trust him this week. He's QB7 for me. Staying in the same game, number 8's Andrew Luck of the Indianapolis Colts, who, yes, had a down week last week. 248 yards, no touchdowns, 1 interception against that tough Jacksonville defense. And this is a tough matchup again against the Houston Texans. This is no easy defense to put points up on. However, I do expect this offense in Indianapolis to take a small step forward to what we saw last week. Now, Andrew Luck had over 3 touchdown passes for 8 straight weeks. I expect this offense to get back on track, try to establish somewhat of a running game, so it opens up the passing lanes for Andrew Luck. The Houston Texans defense right now is 11th against opposing quarterbacks, giving up on average just under 20 points per game. However, over their past 3 games, have allowed 4 passing touchdowns. It's not one of these really crazy high ceilings. Andrew Luck's going to have a great game to go out there and get you those big numbers, but he's capable of it. He's proven it all year long, and the volume is there. They're going to throw a lot in Indianapolis. Right now, I have Andrew Luck as quarterback 8. All right, number 9 is a little bit of an asterisk. If Mitch Trubisky does get named and cleared to play this week, this is where he'll slot in. As of right now, that hasn't happened. So for number 9, I'm going with Jared Goff of the Los Angeles Rams. Been one of the most consistent fantasy quarterbacks all year long because he runs one of the best offenses in all of football, averaging right there in the mid-20s this year for fantasy points scored per game. But it's somewhat of a difficult matchup, right? He gets the Chicago Bears, who are easier to throw on than they are to run on. However, they've benefited these past couple weeks by playing a few teams that don't really throw the ball downfield a whole lot. The New York Giants and the Detroit Lions, these past 2 weeks, they've only allowed 1 passing touchdown, but these offenses are struggling at this time. The New York Giants have just as many touchdown passes by wide receivers as quarterbacks these days. It's definitely one of these matchups that may limit the upside of Jared Goff a little bit, but with all the tools and weapons that he has and the play calling of Sean McVay, he's a borderline must start every single week. I have him as quarterback 9, with the exception of waiting to find out what happens with Mitch Magic. Number 10 is going to be Jameis Winston of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who's been playing great football as of late. He's got 6 touchdown passes over his last 3 weeks to only 1 interception. Very much improved to what his averages were earlier in the season and in previous years. And now he gets a great matchup against the Saints, giving up on average 26 points per game to opposing quarterbacks. Why? Because most quarterbacks have to throw all 4 quarters to stay in the game, keep the game close with the New Orleans Saints. He's got plenty of weapons. Chris Godwin, Adam Humphries, Mike Evans, Cameron Brate in the red zone. Plenty of opportunities for Jameis Winston to go out there and have a good game this week. He'll be playing at home, which is a plus. Definitely somebody who I would start this week. Do I have that warm fuzzy and I'm excited to start him? There's always that possibility that old Jameis shows back up. He's not quite one of these guys who is 100% reliable, but the upside is there this week. High ceiling, and right now, I got him as quarterback 10. Number 11 is going to be Matt Ryan of the Atlanta Falcons, somebody who's been kind of up and down over the past couple weeks, but he's had some difficult matchups with the Cowboys and the Ravens, so I'm not going to hold that against him completely. Now it's a better matchup, I guess you could say, against the Green Bay Packers. However, they're on the road in Green Bay. Really need to pay attention to those weather reports this weekend. We're getting into the winter months. The winter months in Green Bay can be brutal. We need to pay attention to that and see if it affects the passing game at all come Sunday. However, the Packers are giving up just over 20 fantasy points per game, including 5 passing touchdowns over their past 3 games. Not a bad matchup for Matt Ryan. Plenty of pieces, plenty of weapons to use. But does that weather hold them back at all? Something we need to pay attention to this week. Number 12, and I promise I didn't plan it this way because his number is 12. It's going to be Tom Brady of the New England Patriots. Somebody who's been somewhat of a disappointment as of late to a lot of people that own him. Why? Because the touchdowns just aren't there. Only 3 touchdown passes over his last 5 games. That is not very Tom Brady-esque. However, last week, against a difficult defense, the Minnesota Vikings still threw for over 300 yards. Now, they get the Miami Dolphins. Back in week 4, the Miami Dolphins gave up 274 yards and 3 touchdowns to said Tom Brady. Now they get to play each other again. It's going to be on the road in Miami, but Miami's given up just over 22 points a game to opposing quarterbacks. And this is a great opportunity for New England to kind of right the ship and really continue to keep this offense moving forward. I like Tom Brady this week. He just has that potential to go out there and kind of rely a little bit more on the run game in the second half, which could really limit his upside. That's why I have him drop down to number 12. All right, number 13, we're going to start a string of rookies here. Right now, 13 is going to be Baker Mayfield of the Cleveland Browns, coming off a huge passing game where he threw for 397 yards. However, only 1 touchdown to 3 interceptions, which has been very uncharacteristic like of Baker Mayfield here as of late. But now he gets a lot better matchup against the Carolina Panthers, who are giving up on average almost 26 points per game to opposing quarterbacks. Great matchup. They've given up multiple touchdown passes 2 straight weeks. They've given up a total of 10 touchdown passes in their last 4 games. Definitely a lot better matchup for Baker Mayfield. They're going to have to throw the ball. It's easier to throw on Carolina than it is to run on Carolina. I expect a heavy dose of Baker Mayfield this week. He always has that potential to do a little bit of scrambling and rushing and extending plays. And there's always that chance for garbage points, right? The Panthers have this knack for getting a first half lead and then letting their opponent back in the second half. So if you start Baker Mayfield and the first half looks a little iffy, just be patient. The second half is coming. The Panthers like to give up a ton of points in the second half. All right, number 14, I said we're sticking in with the young guys, and here we go with Josh Allen of the Buffalo Bills. Josh Allen has cracked into the top 15, not so much because of his arm or his arm strength or his ability to extend plays. It's because the dude's basically a big running back playing quarterback. Last week against the Miami Dolphins, he had 9 rushes for 135 yards. The week before that, 11 carries for 99 yards and a touchdown. The guy uses his legs a lot, and if he can incorporate, like he did last week against these Miami Dolphins, also threw for 231 yards and another 2 touchdowns. The turnovers, the interceptions are probably going to be there at times. But with that rushing upside, and if they can keep this passing game going, and he's got this ability to extend plays, like I said, going up against the 14th ranked defense of the New York Jets, giving up over 21 points a game to opposing quarterbacks. They've given up 6 passing touchdowns over their last 3 games. Great matchup for Josh Allen. The rushing ability is there. They just lost Kelvin Benjamin, which nobody really cares about. That's an uptick for Zay Jones. This offense could slightly be better than a lot of people thought here end of season. I got Josh Allen right now, QB 14. All right, number 15 is another young one, another rookie, Lamar Jackson of the Baltimore Ravens, and this is eerily similar to the whole Josh Allen speech that I just had. So you can basically say what I said about Josh Allen and just copy and paste it and say it for Lamar Jackson. Over these past 3 weeks, he's rushed for over 71 yards each game. He has 2 rushing touchdowns over the past 2 weeks, and now he's somewhat starting to throw the ball. He's going to have to throw a little bit more this week against the Kansas City Chiefs in order to stay competitive in that game. Yes, he's still going to use his legs, and the Chiefs are one of the weakest run defenses in all of football. I expect a lot more of the same for Lamar Jackson. Huge rushing upside this week, in my opinion. I got him at QB 15. All right, those are my top 15 quarterbacks here for Week 14. Hopefully that was able to help make some decisions. A lot of these young guys on the rise here, end of the season. Hopefully you guys had a good week at work or school or whatever it is you did all week long. I really appreciate your support. Got any questions? Hit them up down below. Got a huge community worth of people here willing to help out. And I love to see it when you guys are out there helping out each other. It really makes me feel like we've built something great here. Really appreciate your support. Looking forward to the live show Saturday afternoon, 3:30 p.m. Eastern time. And we'll talk to you then. Thanks. Have a good one. Bye.